Hello, everyone. This is Political Chit Chat, and I'm your host, Gonzalo Duran. Today's honored guest is Danniel Maio. He's running for Comptroller. Danny, thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much, Gonzalo, for inviting me.
Now, for the audience that may not know, could you give us a little bit about your background?
Sure. Myself, let's see, I have lived in New York since the 1980s, moved from Maryland. I went to American University. After that, I worked with Westinghouse Electric in Pennsylvania for several years. Then, due to some sort of family issues there, I decided to have to leave the company. It's a wonderful company, wonderful state, and sort of come to New York and Philadelphia to take care of those families and problems there. In the meantime, I did transition to work in law firms for a while, so I at least understand the law system, legal system. Also did some accounting work, so I have some accounting background as well. Did look into take my CPA exam as well as look into my LSAT. But while I was working in a law firm, I didn't really like how the lawyers seem to focus instead of on the best interest of the clients. They seem to focus on workable hour, billable hours. Okay, same thing with accountings. There, they just want you to really focus on get as much money out of the client as possible, and that sort of turned me off towards those two professions there. So I decided to do something which I really enjoy, and at that time, that was back in the 80s. I just enjoyed researching city of New York. They're walking around the neighborhood. So I started Identity Map Company. And at that time, map was a profitable business because a lot of companies, including the MTA, needed maps to be printed. There was also business improvement districts, developers, commercial brokers. They were hiring map makers, okay? And we printed maps for most of the real estate companies in New York City. We even tried to get contract with the MTA to update their subway map. But then it came in 2006, Google Map. And that was very fast and furious there. Google did contact us to see whether we'd like to be part of their team. At that time, their approach was just basically digitize the map, make everything very simple, dumbed down. They even said they would like to buy our map and just do something digitizing with it. We felt what they're doing, even though we didn't have a vision or understanding where they were heading, but we was just not as detailed as we liked it. So in the mid-2000s, we continued our map company while Google seemed to grow, buying a lot of map companies around the country, digitizing a lot of their map. We were not part of that at that time. That was sort of a mistake, I think.
That's a missed opportunity.
It was a missed opportunity in hindsight there. Could be on their payroll. But so our map company business sort of went downhill since then there as they realized once they have maps for free, why hire someone like us, even though the quality is not as good. But I have kept on and basically doing the maps. So I still do some maps occasionally. But in the meantime, I had all this free time. So I started running for office. My first office was in 2001. I was running, at that time I was living in Manhattan. So I ran for Manhattan Borough President. The chairman of...
Yes, I didn't know that. I didn't know.
That was 2001. That was also the year of 9/11. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So for some of you who might have memory there, on primary day, that's when it happened. Okay, they crashed into basically the Twin Towers. I watched it because I was living downtown. From my window, I could see the tower collapse. Okay? Well, I wasn't there when it collapsed. I was there when the second plane hit. Okay? Since I had to go to another meeting, and when I went to that meeting, unfortunately, then that's when the subway sort of stopped almost citywide. Okay, some lines were still running. But since I was in Manhattan, practically the entire lines in Manhattan were stopped. So I wasn't able to get back there and see what exactly happened. Had to walk back home that day. But anyway, that day sort of cemented me as far as trying to do some more for the community there. And sort of since 2001, I've been involved in running for office almost every year or every other year. Okay, since now 24 years later, I've ran for almost a dozen races. Okay? Some of them I was knocked off the ballot, but at least I doing this process, I learned a lot about the system. I understand at least the truth part of it, what people know about, what people don't know about, and I try to share that experience with people. So, my personal belief is anyone who wants to run can run, and the knowledge of not knowing how to run should not be an obstacle. So whether I agree with you or not, whether you are a Democrat, whether you want to run a third-party line, if you are interested in running, I always want to give them a hand.
Well, let's talk about because I know you. I've seen and I've done some research on you. 3 years ago, I think you hit a pretty high number.
Yes.
You were either in the high 30s or mid 40s.
It was almost mid 40s. Yeah.
So mid 40s, you were running for Senate, I believe.
Yes, I was running for state senate. That includes basically Howard Beach, Middle Village, which are two strong Republican strongholds, and of course we have Woodhaven, the connecting area.
Now, tell me a little bit about that, because once again, I've been a part of politics myself, but I've never seen numbers like that. That's not a common thing.
Well, actually, it should have been a common thing. The redistricting that happened in 2012, that was when the state Senate was still controlled by Republicans. It wasn't until 2019 when Republicans lost the state Senate control. So 2010, when they started, 2012, when they did the redistricting, they saw to it there is a Republican state Senate district in Queens. And that district basically wraps around all the way from Breezy Point down in Rockaways, up Howard Beach. Because Woodhaven's mainly Democrat, it was very narrow at Woodhaven. It encompassed most of the Middle Village. It stretches all the way to Kew Garden Hills, a little bit small section, and Forest Hills obviously in between, so they got to put Forest Hills in there. They see to it that there should be a possibility of a Republican state senator in that district. The person who won that race in 2012 is Joseph Adabo. He's a moderate Democrat, okay? And he knows if he does change more to the left, the residents would not be interested in him. Now, that year, okay, you mentioned there was a mid-year election for Biden, and people were very much strong turning out for Republicans. But because the redistricting in 2022, they made it, if you may remember there, they have to hire an independent redistricting contractor to redo the maps because they could not really agree on the map. They focus on congressional first. Right? They see to it, and the independent basically.
Well, I mean, they finagle it so that
They
it can,
finagled it. Right, they finagled a little bit, but it was the independent, basically redistricting special master, they call it, that was hired, actually did an excellent job. Okay, so that year, 2022, when he did an excellent job, his see to it is as fair as possible throughout the state, and because of his independent special master redistricting for the congressional race statewide, we were able to win 4 seats, okay, because it was very fair. But for the state senate, because he was also in charge of that, he didn't do state assembly. They want to hire him for state senate and also congressional. For state senate, he decided to make it fair, made my 22 state senate district more compact, which means he cut out Howard Beach and he cut out Breezy Point, and he cut out basically the section in Kew Garden Hills that was pretty strongly Republican. So he made it very square. Okay. If he didn't cut out those 3 areas, I would have won state senate.
So close, so close.
Now Joseph Adabo knew this. Okay, he was very happy of that. Okay, I could have gone over 50+1. That was also the year that Tom Sullivan at the 23rd Assembly District won the general election on election day by 263 votes. It was during the challenge process after the election, he lost by 15 votes.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that was basically some finagling there. Okay, there was some trickeries. They counted votes that they was thrown out by the Board of Election because they knew by looking at the address most likely it's going to be Democrat. And they sort of played this way. That's how Tom Sullivan lost in the 23rd State Assembly race of that same year. And unfortunately, I lost by about 5,000 votes. And the 5,000 votes, if you look at the registered voters alone, the redistricting area they cut out 6,000 Republicans. So that 6,000 Republicans could have made a difference with that 5,000 votes, meaning I could have been, just like Tom Sullivan, won the district, had they not redistricted the state Senate boundary.
Well, with that being said, that's something that, we can circle back to, but a lot of people don't know what a comptroller is.
Yes.
If you can just briefly go over what the duties for a comptroller is.
Certainly. Comptroller, the very basic definition, is the one that writes a check for the city. Okay, they need, now, according to the charter, they're responsible for the pension funds. There are about the 5 pension funds the city has. They are also responsible for basically auditing the agencies and the programs before they're doing the jobs properly. They need to issue reports of whether these agencies are doing the job correctly. And also, we also review the contract that the city approves. Okay, anytime the city approves a contract, it goes to my desk. Okay, I need to sign off on them. Every time the city council basically to pass some certain legislations that require hiring certain people, okay, I would need to review that. Every time the city renew their leases, okay, on buildings and properties, I would have the authority to look at that. Anything that basically the city touches, okay, including, believe it or not, the contract from the labor, okay, even though I am not on sitting at the table to do negotiations, I will be the one to sign off because it's a city contract. Right? So if I want to, as a comptroller, I could certainly put my 2 cents worth into the contract, says, hey, something is wrong about this, something needs to be done.
So you can't stop it altogether, but you can delay that check to be written.
I can certainly raise concerns there. I cannot be sitting at the table in the discussion of the contract, but I could certainly raise red flags.
Okay, perfect. Now, as and I mean, a lot of people may not know this, but there's a primary this year in the Republican Party for the comptroller race.
Yes.
And that's something that's not like a regular thing. I don't think for the last 3 cycles there has been a primary for that.
Listen, there was mayor, but let's see, there was a comptroller, Debbie Carreras, okay? But then that, unfortunately, his competitors knocked off the ballot in the petitioning stage. So yes, there was no comptroller primary.
So now that you made it to this level,
Yes.
which I'm sure surprised a couple people.
Yes.
What are your platforms? What are you running on that you're going to be doing different than the previous one or your competition now?
Well, certainly, the big picture is obviously November. Okay, on the November part, for some of you who do not know, unlike the mayoral race, there have been a Republican mayor in our recent memory. In the case of comptroller, I don't think anyone alive has seen a Republican primary, because the last one that was elected was in 1937. Okay, so that's a long time there. For those who remember it, they're probably just baby, they don't even know who they are. Okay, that was born before 1937. So I have, unfortunately, that big history hurdle I need to overcome. But that is certainly my objective. I want to win in November. Comptroller, by definition, most people should realize it's an office that is really fit for a Republican value. Okay, we are certainly very much cost conscious. We are certainly very much want to be sure things are done correctly. We do not want to put any personal or political or social agenda to the budget. Okay, that's not what a control job is. You just want to be sure the money is at its maximum value, going to its fitting the purpose it needs to be. We should not put any social agenda to it. Okay, we cannot tell them put certain amount of money to hire social justice money managers. Okay. That doesn't make sense, and have them be sure it is going to certain companies. That is not what you're supposed to do there. I mean, fine, you could talk about it, But that is not the job of the comptroller. He's supposed to be sure the pensions are paid properly, the contract are being done properly, and the people that are getting the benefits are actually the one getting the benefits, and which we know at this moment a lot of them are not, but they don't talk about it because it benefits them not talking about it.
Okay, and that's one platform that you want to run on. Are
Definitely.
there any other ones?
Well, the one which I really want people to realize, the most important power a comptroller have is the power to audit. They can audit anything, right? No comptroller anywhere that I'm aware of, not necessarily in New York City, but countrywide or anywhere, that has the fiduciary duty over the money of the city under a comptroller, financial manager, whatever, are willing to take the audacity of auditing politicians. Why would a comptroller audit the hands that feed him? Okay? We know the hands are in the troughs everywhere. Everybody's hands in the trough. You just don't see it. I have the advantage or disadvantage, since I'm a Republican in a city that's run by Democrats. At least for me to say that, I'll get less darts and arrows thrown at me.
Okay.
Okay. Or stabbing in the back, okay? Because at least when I say I'm going to audit politicians, most of them are not Republicans,
Yeah.
okay? So, obviously, it is not to their benefit, but they know I'm not going to win anyway, so I'm not someone they're going to worry about. But I'm serious in the sense of I'm going to also audit Republicans, okay? Because we do have several bad Republicans in there, okay? People just don't know about it because people just want to keep keep the status quo, be sure they always protect each other. I mean, there are a lot of stories I have seen and heard myself personally over 20-some years there. I mean, I don't want to talk about it. I don't really want to, I don't feel it's necessary to talk about it because during this time, you always want to protect certain people, okay? But after 20-some years, those people you try to protect, they either went to jail, okay, because somebody ratted on them, they died, they appointed someone else who's equally worse. Okay? So I'm at a stage now, I have to ask myself, why am I running? Right? If I know this already, I've seen a lot of this happening. Do I want to perpetuate the status quo? And the answer basically I decided recently is just I don't want to continue doing that. That's not what I want to run. Let me start doing something whereby at least not only I can hopefully right what is wrong, but also encourage other people who have similar experiences to feel free to speak out, okay? And I will protect them, okay? Hopefully, okay? So at least by running, you're looking at someone who is going to try to hopefully bring some honesty, integrity to the system instead of protecting those which you thought are protecting your personal interest, but they're only protecting your personal interest to their benefits. And once the benefit is gone, you're on the chopping block. Mm-hmm.
And and depending on if you're the flavor of the month type of situation, on top of that as well. So we've both seen our fair share of situations like that.
Yes.
Now you've been around the block.
Mm-hmm.
You know your background. You got a well-rounded with the legal CPA.
Mm-hmm.
So and you've run many times. So you've come close, pretty darn close to getting there. Now on the back end, you also work civically engagement with community members.
Mm-hmm.
You have a club. If you'd like to talk about it for a few minutes.
Oh, sure. I have a club called Central Queens Republican Club. Actually, it was sort of before that, I've been attending the Queens Village Republican Club which is pretty independent in Queens. It's still the largest independent club until, of course, Vicky Palladino won her race. Then now her club, the Whitestone Club, is now the largest in Queens. Phil has a similar philosophy in that he wants everyone who wants to run can run. Okay, and I was helping him with the club, but then his concentration is sort of in the Eastern Queens section there. I live in Forest Hills. So one sort of, he was asking at that time, we were trying to set up a opposition to go against county committee group people to go against, at that time the chairman of Queens County was Joan Areola. Okay? So he was asking me, would that be interesting in organizing a group in Central Queens, county committee mainly, to go against Areola. Okay? That was before she was a city councilwoman. I says, why not? Okay, and I help him with the petition, the process, and try to recruit people. And since I went against Joan Areola that particular year, that was 2021, Areola decided to go against me. All the petitions I have put together, this one, since I am very detailed, I want to be sure the petition looks great. I want to be sure the people who collects them has the information on the sheet of paper to know where to collect. So on the petition I designed for everyone that's collecting county committee for 2021, I put down the ED numbers that go with the name on top. Right? So at least when they collect, they know the county committee names, as well as at that time there were also candidates for city council at that time, I think, that was the city council year as well, okay? And other candidates, okay? And we submitted it, we collected a great number of signatures, we submitted it. Areola decided to pull something which I thought was interesting, okay? She says, well, those ED numbers on the petition is superfluous. Therefore, the entire petition we collected had to be thrown out. Well, don't forget, she's the county chairman. So she could tell not only the commissioners to reject all our petitions, which they did, right? And basically threw out our entire slate of over, I think, we have over 800 county committees. We have, at that time, I think 12 state committees, people. So we decided to take them to court. Okay? We had to get them validated. Okay? And
well, that's the background of how the organization came together.
that's the background came. Yeah.
Would you talk a little bit about like your meeting spots and how if somebody wanted to participate or
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, that was sort of how it got started there. It's because we were meeting, try to see how we should at least, because the court case we won, all the way to the Court of Appeals, all the Court of Appeals, because they says that ED number is superfluous. But when the club was sort of, when started there, it was basically an outlet for those people who were on the county committee to meet and talk about what is it we want to do with the Republican clubs. Okay? Since the official county committee, the official GOP for the county basically says if you don't do what we want to do, you are not officially recognized. So Central Queens is considered still today not an official club.
Just to, so the audience knows, for you to be a club within a party, you have to get permission from the county to do it, basically.
Right. Mm-hmm. And certainly you can do it independent of them, but of course the county will say you are an illegal club. Okay? Mm-hmm. But from their perspective, it's illegal. From the law's perspective, you're not. Okay. But that's basically where we are still today.
And clubs are either could go for or against county, and that's why there's the tension that arises between there. I assume that's one of the many reasons.
Well, that, as far as I'm concerned, that's actually one of the biggest misunderstandings of our club. Okay, they keep thinking Central Queens is anti-county. It never was. Okay? It never was anti-county. It was just an open club meeting for anybody who wants to come and basically say whatever they want to say, okay? And if you look at all the agendas of the club meetings I have, I invite anyone. I put down basically the history of people who spoke. I have people who are Democrats who spoke. I have socialists who spoke, okay? I have people who just want to do some nonprofit organization who spoke. I have health healers who came to speak. Anyone who contact us is allowed to speak, okay? You don't have to be Republican, and you don't have to talk about Republican value. It's just basically a place for you to speak. Now, the unfortunate part, and the county thinks we're anti-county, is because those people who don't like county find us home. They came to us, okay? And they just like to talk about whatever it is against the county. Since I don't censor them, the county think I'm anti-county. But I just allow them to speak. That's all it is.
Well, with that being said, if somebody wanted to reach out and speak at at your club, how would they go about doing that?
Just contact me, or I run my club is very democratic. They can contact any of them, one of our board members.
Could you give their email, please?
Oh, sure. Well, the club's email is centralqueensgop@gmail.com. That's one word, centralqueensgop@gmail.com. Our website is the same thing, Central Queens GOP, central.queens.gop. That's it. Okay?
Now, regarding your campaign, if somebody wants to reach you to either contact you or whatever, how would they reach you?
Well, let's see. My website, my political website is nyc.mayo, M-A-I-O, my name, .net. That's my website, nyc.mayo.net. And on that website, it has my phone number, it has my email, it has the things I'm talking about. Hopefully, a copy of this interview also will be on the website there, so you can read about it. And as I mentioned there on my website, okay, whether I win or lose a primary, okay, I'm still going to be out there helping anyone who needs assistance, who needs help, who want to understand the process, okay? Only because it's not open.
Well, thank you for that, Danny. And for those that are interested in being on the show, please feel free to email me at gonzaloduran@nyc@gmail.com. Until then, as always, God bless you and God bless America.
Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. This is Political Chit Chat, and I'm your host, Gonzalo Duran. I look forward to talking to you about global and local politics. If you'd like to be on the show, feel free to email me at gonzaloduranyc@gmail.com. To get to know me better, feel free to check out my social media at Gonzalo Duran NYC. Until then, and as always, God bless America.